warm welcome to Amhara Media Corporation. This is our daily news live from the studio. I'm Gaila Damu. Stay with us. According to legal experts, the designation of UN staffs expelled from Ethiopia as persona non grata for meddling in the internal affairs of Ethiopia is in conformity with international laws and practices. Bran Warkana reports.
It is to be recalled that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said at the time he was shocked and criticized the measure against the 7 individual workers of UN agencies. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the violations committed by these individuals were diversion of human assistance to the TPLF, violation of agreed upon security arrangements, the transferring of communication equipment to be used by the TPLF, continued reticence in demanding the return more than 400 trucks commanded by the TPLF for military mobilization and for the transportation of its forces since July 2021, and dissemination of misinformation and politicization of humanitarian assistance. Speaking to Ethiopian news agency, Theodos Getachew, a legal expert, said Ethiopia has the right to expel any diplomat or staff of multilateral organizations that works against its national interest and interferes in the affairs of the country. He added that international laws and practices prohibit any action of diplomats that goes against the national interest and sovereignty of the receiving state. According to him, the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations explicitly states the obligation of diplomats to respect the laws and regulations of the hosting state and non-interference in the domestic affairs of the same state. The Charter of the United Nations ratified by the member states also prohibits interference in the internal affairs of sovereign states and respects their sovereignty. In Ethiopia's context, TPLF was designated as a terrorist organization by the House of People's Representatives. So, any Ethiopian or foreigner has to respect the law of the country as long as he or she lives in its territorial jurisdiction. Hence, any kind of contact with this terrorist group is criminal. He elaborated that since breaching the law of the hosting state follows legal consequence, the action of the Ethiopian government on the individual workers of the UN agencies for interfering in the domestic affairs of the country is a right decision that complies with the international laws and practices.
For stronger reason,
the international law that guides diplomats of different status also works for workers of UN agencies. It is just a matter of interpretation. Different countries have practiced it by rightly interpreting the international law. Ethiopia's measure on workers of the UN agencies is also legally acceptable, but the response of UN Secretary General has no legal ground. Consortium of Ethiopian Human Rights Organization Director Masoud Gabayo said on his part, diplomats and individuals working in international organizations, including workers of UN agencies, have the responsibility to respect the law and regulation of the country, as well as acceptable international laws and principles. He added that engagements of diplomats and workers of international organizations, illegal activities and acts out of their given functions are prohibited. In such cases, the hosting state can declare them as persona non grata to deprive them their diplomatic immunity. As a result, the measure of the Ethiopian government is appropriate and respects international laws and practices, the director noted. Since the issue of the country is a matter of sovereignty, moving out of legal principles leads to accountability, and taking such action by declaring them persona non grata is part of making them held accountable. Hence, it is one of the international rights of the government on diplomats meddling in the domestic affairs of the country. He pointed out that the sovereignty of Ethiopia should not be infringed by foreign powers taking humanitarian assistance as a cover.
A senior official of Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the government of Ethiopia will give priority to the successful realization of African agenda. Ababa Burhani tells us more.
In an exclusive interview he held with Ethiopian news agency in connection with the 39th ordinary session of The Executive Council of the African Union Protocol Affairs Director General Faisal Ali stated that the necessary preparations for the Councils of African Foreign Ministers meeting have been finalized. He said the opportunity given to Ethiopia to host this important meeting signifies the country's priority for African agenda, adding that Ethiopia will continue its effort for the success of the continent. He also pointed out that the meeting of African Foreign Affairs in Addis Ababa will play a significant role in building Ethiopia's image. The Director General said Ethiopia has been pioneer in promoting the idea of addressing the problems of African by Africans, adding that the country will continue with its critical role in the affairs of African agenda.
የአስፈጻሚ ምክር ቤት ስብሰባ በአዲስ አበባ ከተማችን መካሄዱ የሀገራችን ገጽታ ከመገንባት አኳያ ኢትዮጵያ ሁሉ ጊዜም በአፍሪካ አጀንዳ
The holding of the 39th Executive Council of the African Union meeting in Addis Ababa will have paramount significance in building the image of our country Ethiopia and showing the fact that Ethiopia is a leading country in giving priority for the agenda of Africa. This is a good opportunity to reveal the reality that Ethiopia has been playing a great role in creating favorable conditions for the success of the agenda of African countries. It also signifies that Ethiopia will keep on playing its role.
ቀዳሚ ሚናውን አሁንም ቢሆን እንድትቀጥል የቀጠለችም እንደሆነ መልእክት ለማስተላለፍ እጅግ ትልቅ ነው።
According to Faisal, this is one of the mechanisms by which Ethiopia enhances its long-standing bilateral cooperation with African countries.
ኢትዮጵያ እኮ ለአፍሪካ አጀንዳ ሁሉ ጊዜ ቀዳሚ ነች። ፓን-አፍሪካኒዝም የአፍሪካዊ ወንድማማችነት
Ethiopia is usually pioneer for the agenda of Africa. It has played indispensable role for the consolidation of fraternity among African countries. Ethiopia is also a leading country in promoting the concept of managing Africans' affairs by Africans themselves. The preparation of this meeting in Addis Ababa shows that Ethiopia has a big place in the podium of Africa, and it also signifies that Ethiopia has been strengthening its role in the issue of Africa more than ever before. It also shows the strength of Ethiopia very well.
የኢትዮጵያን ጥንካሬ የኢትዮጵያን ሁሉ ጊዜ ቀዳሚነት በደንብ የሚያሳይ ነገር ስለሆነ መልእክቱ ትልቅ ነው።
African ministers of foreign affairs are arriving at Addis Ababa to partake in the 39th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union that is expected to kick off today. More than 34 foreign affairs ministers are expected to partake in the meeting.
African ministers of foreign affairs are arriving in Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa to partake in the 39th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union that is expected to be kicked off today. Netanyahu has more.
According to Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, Kamisoko Kamara, Gabon, Mebelet Babuya and Burkina Faso, Alpha Berry, have arrived in Addis Ababa yesterday. Director General of Protocol Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Faisal Ali, welcomed the ministers at Poli International Airport. Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Christophe Lutundula, has also arrived in Addis Ababa. Other ministers of foreign affairs of African countries are expected to arrive. The 39th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union will be held for 2 days under the theme Arts, Culture and Heritage, Levers of Building the Africa We Want. The Executive Council will consider the draft agenda, decisions and declarations with appropriate recommendations for consideration by the heads of state and government during their third mid-year coordination meeting between the African Union, the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms. According to a press release of African Union, for 2 days, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, External Relations and other ministers or authorities duly designated will deliberate on the different items on their agenda, including consideration of the report of the 42nd ordinary session of the PRC report on the operationalization of the African CDC, and concept note and roadmap on the theme of the year 2022 on nutrition and food security. The session will also consider reports of committees of the Executive Council and the High Committee's report of the joint sitting of the Ministerial Committee on Scale of Assessment and Contributions and the Committee of F-15 report of the Ministerial Committee on African Candidatures within the international system and the report of Ministerial Follow-up Committee on the implementation of Agenda 2063.
Diaspora say they are ready to take part on tourism destination investment to turn the opportunity created by the completion of the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. Brown Workana has the details.
Ethiopian diaspora members living abroad said after the completion of the construction of GERD, they are ready to use the opportunity and engage themselves to put their legacy in investment sector. It is already known that upon completion of GERD, the government has disclosed about the establishment of great entertainment cities around the project. Recently, the diaspora members have visited the construction of GERD by the support of Tourism Ethiopia. The diaspora members approached by Ethiopian News Agency said they have been supporting the construction of the dam since the conception of the project. Resident of Texas and former police member Lieutenant Neguse Siggen said Nile is on the way to ensure the prosperity of the nation. He said Egypt and Sudan have been using the river alone and now Ethiopia is ready and hopeful to use Nile for its development purposes. Through Diaspora Trust Fund, the Lieutenant donated $365 to the construction of GERD project. We, all the diaspora members living abroad, we have to transfer $1 per day to the Diaspora Trust Fund. I have been transferring $1 to the Diaspora Trust Fund for the last consecutive years. Personally, via Diaspora Trust Fund, I donated $365 to the construction of the dam. Therefore, I believe that if everybody do this, they will benefit the country and the people in doing so. A resident of London and journalist Zaudu Mengiste said the diaspora members have been serving the people in the country, irrespective of their profession, to avert the false information created and disseminated by the supporters of the terrorist TPLF group. Therefore, he said he has been serving his country, telling the reality of Ethiopia in relation to the terrorist TPLF group through media. Especially on the construction of GERD, the TPLF forces have been influencing media. Therefore, as a journalist and with my friends, we are working strongly to divert the conspiracy of TPLF. We are also mobilizing all Ethiopian communities to put their legacy on the affairs of Nile River. Today, we have visited the dam, and I hope we will do more when I go back to London. We will also exert our maximum effort to enable the diaspora to work with the government. The diaspora members who visited the dam said, apart from supporting the construction of the dam in a holistic manner, they are ready to put their legacy in tourism and investment sector around the project. A resident of Washington, D.C. and Chief Executive Council for Ethiopian Diaspora Action, Alemayehu Sleshi said, apart from generating hydroelectric power, the dam will have other opportunities in tourism sector. At the back of this water, there are many highlands, and that will be a tourist destination. Therefore, we do not wait until foreign investors invest on it. We all the diaspora members personally are forming different associations. We have to construct lodges so as to make it the tourist destination. We have to create job opportunity to our people. We have to use our knowledge, wisdom and resource to help our country and our people. Resident of California who returned to Ethiopia after 21 years, Mulugeta Amhara, on his part said, upon completion, the dam has great role to create different kinds of tourist destinations around the project. In addition to generating hydroelectric power, this place will be used for different things, for instance for water skimming, for fishing and for resort constructions. In doing so, we have to make tourists to come and enjoy it. It has immense role and it should be given due attention. A resident of Maryland, Sister Martha Gebreselassie, on her part said, tomorrow's hope of Ethiopia is at the back of God, and she said the Visit to God project has delighted her. I'm proud of Ethiopia's future destiny when I think the hope of Ethiopia at the back of God. We all diaspora members have to come and finish the construction of the dam. Especially, I want to urge Ethiopian diaspora youth to participate in diplomacy, promotion and fundraising to complete the construction of the dam.
You're watching Amhara Media Corporation, Amhara TV News, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate and karat rate. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Many thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.